Welcome to FAMU Now on Sirius XM HBCU 142. Vince Ross here with Florida A&M University Athletic Director Milton Overton. AD Overton, you've identified 6 critical support pillars of an athletic program. What are those 6 pillars?
Those 6 pillars, let me just describe what they are first. I mean, it's what holds up the foundation of your program. To have a championship program, you have to have 6 very critical support pillars that basically hold up your foundation. And obviously, if your foundation is cracked, then you have issues that go along with that. In this particular case, the lack of winning, in certain areas. So the 6 pillars are: first, academics; second, compliance; third, strength and conditioning; training, which is your medical, okay, your facilities, and then your financials, okay. Those 6 pillars is what we're working on and focused on. So every single thing that we do relative to our strategic plan is focused on mending the fractures in those pillars, because right now our program is leaning because we have, some issues with the foundation. As we repair each pillar, the foundation will level, and now our athletic department and our coaches are supported, and student athletes are supported in such a way that they will have success on the field. But until your foundation is right, you can't have a championship caliber program across the board.
Most definitely. You've mentioned that you plan on collaborating or cooperating with Florida State's athletic director, Stan Wilcox, and their athletic department in the future. What type of things should Florida A&M fans expect to come out of this collaboration?
Well, I don't want to go into too much detail because what I can say is that regular meetings, and that we work together to, number one, make sure that our fans have a really good experience. Because if we're collaborating at least on schedule, and by the way, we will release our football schedule, if not late this week, early next week, okay? And there will be less conflicts, with home games. Now, you obviously cannot avoid every single game, okay, because you're talking about 4 games on our side, 6, 7 games on their side. But we are doing our best to make sure that there's not as much conflict. Now, we're not just talking about conflict. We're also talking about, the hotels. So when you have conflict, the prices of hotels go up. I'm an AD that focuses on listening. Okay, so in the fan survey, the fans said, hey, many times we get priced out because the hotels are inflated because, again, FSU and FAMU is playing at the same time. And so in order to try to alleviate some of those concerns, all right, we're trying to make sure that we do that. We already collaborate. I mean, our teams play each other. I mean, our bowling team played against, we had an event against Florida State. Our tennis team goes over there to play. So we're in the same city. So we're already collaborating. We just want to do things that helps actually both fan bases as well as the city of Tallahassee. Because if we're away and FSU's away, there's an economic impact that occurs. And so what we want to do, we're just partners in the city. And to be a good partner, you've got to collaborate.
You recently hired Parker Brooks as our football team strength and conditioning coach, as well as the overall program's strength and conditioning coach. What elements do you expect Parker to implement in our program immediately that will translate to wins on the field?
You got to go over there and see. No, I'm just kidding. No. And actually, I was talking to 220 Club about that, and we're going to have an open invitation for our fans to come in and actually see, the strength and conditioning program being transformed. So the first thing is attitude, okay? So the attitude of a football team is heavily based on the attitude of the head football coach and the strength coach, okay? So if you look at Alabama and Nick Saban, the reason that they pay Scott Cochran $600,000 a year as the highest paid strength coach is he actually makes a huge difference on the field. And I'm talking about not just game time, we're talking about when it matters, practice. You have to get peak performance from any football player, basketball player, tennis player. You have to the practices have to be great, okay? Which means you got to have high energy. So Parker brings a high energy to it, and also he's a technician. So he gave me an Excel spreadsheet just the other day, and what it has on it is this is where everybody is in the 225. How many times you do 225? How many times can you? I mean, what's your 40 time? I mean, what's your broad jump? What's your broad jump? So we're doing base testing, and then we're obviously putting in some very good scientific strength and conditioning programs that actually going to help elevate us. Power. Okay, so he's training people just like he trains Deontay Wilder, who's the heavyweight champion of the world. He's his trainer. And the box jumping that he's doing, all those squats, it generates power in your punch, but also it generates power for an offensive lineman to take you out, okay, and to move you off the line. We have some issues with that. So if you can't tell, there is a strategic reason why we bring Parker in, not just because he comes from Alabama, but because he is a technician and really understands strength and conditioning. Now, we've actually added 3 strength and conditioning coaches. Christie is another coach. We also hired Ron Miller, and Ron is a local, local minister, but he actually used to train at FSU as well. He's been in the business for 20 years. So as I talk about the pillars, right? Your kids have to be strong. They also have to be healthy. So we are transforming our strength and conditioning program to make sure that they've got the support that they need when our prospects come in, that they see how they're going to be trained. And it was great just this past weekend to see Parker give a presentation to recruits. And he's showing exactly what he did at Alabama. He's showing all the kids that he's helped get in the NFL. That's how you get great prospects. They know they're going to be trained by the best. I trained the heavyweight champion of the world. Okay? Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Now, you spoke about transformation as far as strength and conditioning goes. Brooks mentioned in an interview that he needs better equipment eventually to help take our team to that next level. Absolutely. How long will it be before FAMU Athletics will be able to secure that equipment that's needed?
We've already started purchasing some of it, and so this is why fundraising is very important. So part of this interview is obviously we need to invest in the championship program. Investing in champions and investing in our building champions program is what we need. But there are some things like boxes. Okay, so the boxes that you jump on that have different heights. So something as simple as that, not having 2 levels in between the highest boxes, it matters because maybe your offensive lineman can't get there. They've got to get to that point. So this is something that's very simple. We're not talking about thousands of dollars. We're talking about just some basic things that you need. Also, there are some bands that he asked for, okay, that really kind of help you, with your quads and help you, reduce your injuries, okay? So those kind of things, platforms. So we're starting to buy the things that we can afford to buy now. And obviously, as we work towards, capital campaign, to change out what you guys call the field house, I call the sports performance complex for all student athletes. It will have a new weight room, a new strength and conditioning area. We'll have an academic center in it, which is, the prize thing for me, locker rooms, all those different things. But before you get there, you've got to work with what you've got. So we've already started purchasing some of the items that he needs.
You mentioned academics, and last year the school announced some self-imposed sanctions due to relapses in NCAA compliance. Where are we now in terms of turning that trend around and avoiding those NCAA sanctions and improving our academics?
Sure, absolutely. So academics and compliance, I go back to the 6 pillars, right? And if you listen to the way that I described them, actually there was an order to it. It started with academics and compliance, right? And then at the end was financials, because the financials actually flow through everything. It helps you improve everything. So where we are now is that we're actually trending up. We're trending up in APR with football, with basketball, with track and field. And trending up means that we're having fewer people. We're losing fewer points. Okay, so this past semester, we lost fewer points than we had the previous semester. And so that's helping, because we have focused a lot of attention on academics, and compliance. And here's what I mean by this. Joyce Ellen Wood leads our academic division, and so we've been spending a lot of time on utilizing the APP academic performance grant that the NCAA provided us to get more tutors. Okay, so as you have more tutors, as you have more kids, getting the help that they need, you lose fewer points. Okay, so that's a combination of that plus making sure that we don't. Many of our issues in the compliance had to do with administrative. Okay, so there were some things that we just kind of missed. So 2 things there. One, we've obviously hired a deputy AD, and I'm kind of it's a deputy AD. His name is Elliot Charles, but he's also just a phenomenal guy in compliance, and so he also sits on the NCAA committee for compliance. And so we've got somebody in that's an expert in the area, so that we don't miss issues administratively. Okay, and obviously we're improving our academics. And I'm thinking that next year I'm hoping that we will reduce the amount of issues that we have so that we can restore spring ball. We won't be able to do it this year, but we will see some relief. We're expecting some relief from the NCAA on other issues and other, like in basketball and some others.
You talked about adding some tutors and other administrative changes. What other fundamental changes have taken place that are allowing our athletes to do better in the classroom?
Well, I'll tell you what, the coaches matter. Coach Wood is doing a really good job. And, it's the funniest thing. I mean, everybody, you look at from the surface how you evaluate a coach. And, wins and losses is very, very important, right? But having a kind of a head coach CEO, like Alex Wood, who's going over to the library, every Sunday with the football team, having supervised study and having tutors come there is important. So that's something that's helping a lot. So it's about in what you do as well. We're also doing a better job, I think, of monitoring the kids, checking classes. And if someone's failing a subject matter, getting the help that they need a little sooner. So I've asked for lists, once a week on who's on anyone that appears to be at risk, and that was one of the things that I did in my former life, is build software for academic support for student athletes, and so those kinds of things matter. Yeah.
Definitely. You mentioned your deputy AD who's magnificent with compliance, but we know that per NCAA mandates, we must have 3 officers for compliance by the 2016-2017 academic year. How close are we, to reaching that goal of hiring those 3 officers?
Yeah, in the next 2 months, we've got 2 positions open for compliance. So Elliot fills 1, even though it's kind of a dual role, and then the other 2 folks will be hired, within the next couple of months. But those positions are out there. What we want to do is make sure we hire the very best. So it takes a little time to recruit the right people because we can't mess this up. What we do has to last a long time, to put FAMU in the position that it needs to be in. So the next couple of months, you'll see those 2 positions being filled.
Most definitely. And we know you spent some time at Alabama. How proud were you to see Alabama and Nick Saban win another national title? And also, how did that motivate you in terms of bringing some of that character and some of that intensity here to Florida A&M so that we can hopefully one day hoist up a trophy?
There's no hopefully. That's what I came here to do. And I mean that. So obviously I was very proud, of Alabama. Know a lot of people there, care about, the student athletes there. And, it's a machine. I expect them to win. That's where you have to be, is that once you build up a championship program, and it happens over a period of time, right? And I have to say this because I think I want our fan base to know this. Coach Saban's first year, it wasn't a winning season. And so he talked about the process of building a championship program. That's what I'm talking about. I gave you 6 pillars. We have a 4-year business plan that goes along to restore the fractures that we have in the 6 pillars. So if we just invest in the plan, okay, and we believe together, we're going to win a championship. But we have to get the pillars right. We got to get our foundation right first so that we're ready to win and we're supporting the coaches and student athletes at the degree they need to, because we will wear a ring. It's no question. We've done it in the past. And the other thing I want to say is the history of FAMU athletics, in particular football, has made an impact on all of college football. If you go to the Jack Gaither House, what you see is coaching clinics with folks like Barry Bryan and other coaches here to talk about football, all right? So FAMU made an impact on all of college sports today as we know it. And so that's going to happen again. We just have to focus on, building champions and focus on, the process to getting there.
Well, thank you for joining us, A.D. Overton. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
For FAMU Now, I'm Vince Ross.